Go for it, Chris. Oh, it was not nearly as splashy as a Nod Hill.
It's not splashy at all. They're a little more stingy than the Nod Hill people. This is not from Nod Hill, so.
Oh, Nod Hill. You gotta like set down a little napkin or something. It's
You gotta wear a bib.
It goes Hawaiian.
Let's see how this tastes.
Whoa, Chris! Whoa, Chris! What is that? What is that, Chris? Fabulous
card I got from my brother-in-law, and he knows me, so he got a beer card.
Well, I love what it says on it. What it says, I didn't want to wish you Father's Day
until you had a beer in your hand.
Adorable. Audience, isn't it adorable? It's adorable. I love it. And well, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. We'll have to say that again at 8:00, but still. Chris, could you also share that awesome Father's Day gift that Frankie made for you?
Of course, this is a mug that she made with the.
Love it.
Got the chicken. This is me, right there.
That's you.
It's a donkey because she knows I like donkeys, and the donkey is farting.
Oh my God, that's too good.
Twinkle. Guitar. This is the Demogorgon from Stranger Things.
Demogorgon is on there.
Which we watched together. This is her. This is Frankie.
Oh, Frankie. Frankie, good work. Beautiful, hilarious, fabulous.
This is a smoothie.
Oh, you like smoothies, Chris? I didn't know.
Yeah, we make smoothies together in the morning.
Oh, I just have to say that Philip J. Curtis is in the house saying Susan Davis.
Nelson, happy Father's Day to you, Pete.
Happy Father's Day to you too, Pete. All right, so Pete just said, I have a trophy that says I'm the best father in the universe. It was an honor just to be nominated. Fabulous. That's too funny. Well, Philip, I have to tell you that Susan was asking about you. She's like, is Philip going to be here? So it means a lot that you're popping in straight from the top of the show. Philip, we love you. And we got to get you on the show. There's a manuscript that is on its way to being published here. And I know that Chance does as well. And we are very excited to have you guys back on. We'll talk about it. Absolutely. Well, it's been a beautiful Father's Day weekend. It's been a little teensy bit chilly here in Connecticut, which is not fair because it's finally the warm weather season and it needs to be warm at least sometimes here in Connecticut because Susan over in California have been telling us all year in her bio, I'm wearing shorts. Making us jealous.
It was too cold for shorts today, but it's okay. You know what? It was barely a cloud up there.
It was so sunny. Well, and by this afternoon down here in Norwalk, it was pretty warm. I had the AC on, but my apartment is always warm. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Second floor, the sun is just blasting in all day.
Is there a floor above you?
No, I'm the second floor / top floor.
So it beats down on the roof. That's what happens. That happened to me in Brooklyn. I was on the 6th floor, so all the heat would go up.
My God.
And there was the heat from there, and it would just be brutal.
Yeah, Brooklyn, Philip. Sorry. So. That must have been very, very hot. Chris, tell me you had like some kind of AC going on in there.
I lived in that apartment for like 11 years, and I would say the first 3 years I had nothing.
No, Chris.
When I look back on that now, I don't know how I did it. I mean, it was like, remember the bridge on the River Kwai? They put you in the hot box.
Oh, no. I can't imagine. That sounds so uncomfortable.
Well, I didn't know any better. I was stupid, and then I got an air conditioner, and I was like, "Well, okay."
Like, yeah, this is the way to go.
I know.
Get yourself over to Sears or something, which doesn't even exist
I
anymore.
had an air conditioner before. It was like I thought the government supplied those. It's like
Wait, Chris, you didn't grow up with air conditioning either? You didn't have it at
we didn't
home?
have air conditioning in our house.
I mean, Ohio got pretty toasty, maybe.
It would get very toasty.
Yeah.
We had a kind of a big house where you just open all the windows and
Yeah.
bats would fly in. It was great.
Bat.
They would fly in every year. At least one bat would fly into them.
No, I mean, we tried to like manage our electricity consumption, I think, growing up. Like we tried not to be like crazy with it. And sometimes it would be just noisy and too much. But like we had, I mean, in our main living floor, we had like an air conditioner almost in every room. We were all about comfort.
You guys are living large. Hey, it's 8:01 here. We have to give we're late.
I apologize. I'm so sorry, you guys. Official welcome, everyone, to FUMFA 98. We are getting so close to 100, but we are so excited to welcome tonight's special guest, Rebecca Hazelton, and FUMFA alum and dear friend of ours, Susan M. Davis. We're so excited to hear from both of them. And we know that Susan has a newer book of poetry out, and we're excited to have a poetry-focused night, Chris. The poets are taking over tonight.
Oh, I'm outnumbered here.
Yep.
Next week is going to be poetry all the time next week, right?
Oh, yes, that's right. Chris, tell us what's coming. Tell everyone what's coming up.
Well, next week, we've got North Carolina Poet Night. We've got.
That's right.
Our old friend Chris Abate has helped us to curate this selection of North Carolina poets, including another old friend, Mauro Dowdle,
yes,
as well as Bartholomew Barker, Amber Watson, and Anna Weaver, along with Chris. So it's going to be five, count them, 5 North Carolina poets.
Yeah.
And then, so that's going to be great. And then the week after that is 4th of July weekend. So we're going to be off
vacation,
looking at fireworks or whatever we do. And then we're back for our 100th program.
Unbelievable. Amazing.
Readings that we have hosted here. And the guests will be very special that night. It'll be Katie Schneider.
Oh my God.
The Schneiderator.
Oh, yeah, yes.
And, Knuckles Belden.
Knuckles Belden. That's fantastic. And we just also want to let you know, if you filled out our survey, we are still building our schedule for the second half of the summer. And if you are someone that is anywhere within our region and are able to show up in person, we have our very first in-person open mic event coming up on Friday, July 15th at Eco Evolution in South Norwalk. A very cool spot, a very cool store in South Norwalk. And starting at 7:30, we are going to have just an awesome night of poetry, of all different kinds of readings. We have comedians and musicians. It's going to be awesome. So if you can get down to South Norwalk, please do. We also have posts up on social media. Please RSVP. And if you want to sign up in advance, you can. So just want to make you aware of that. And also, if you just want to come and listen, please come hang out with us. It's going to be so fun. We've been kind of dreaming of doing this, and now it's happening. It's coming up.
People are going to see us in person, and a lot of people don't know. In person, I have hair.
You guys, you don't know this, but I'm 6 feet tall.
That's true.
Okay, no, I'm not. No, I'm not.
I'm 4'10", but I have hair. My beard reaches my knees, but
but you can't see it online.
Check them out in person.
Only in person only. You gotta show up to see what what below here even looks like. So yeah. Also, just have to say before we get started here that Philip has given us an update. Chance and myself, second round of editing being done now. We're so excited for you guys. That's awesome, and very excited for your books. So cool. We love you guys, and thank you for all the happy Father's Days out there. And oh, Balke, we wish you could make it down from Canada, but we hope to have you on in an upcoming online show. Oh, that's so nice. All right, we need to get started, Chris, with our readings this
Do it.
evening. Yeah, and we need to welcome our first reader of the evening, Rebecca Hazelton. Welcome.
She is.
Hello. It's such a pleasure to see you all.
Thank you so much,
I'm
Rebecca.
so happy to be here and excited.
Yes. We are so excited to hear you read. I'm just going to share your bio with everyone to introduce you, and then we'll have you take it away. Rebecca Hazelton is an award-winning poet, writer, critic, and editor. Her first book, Fair Copy, won the Wheeler Prize from Ohio State University Press. Her second book, Vow, was an editor's pick from Cleveland State University Press. Her most recent book of poetry, Gloss, was published by the University of Wisconsin Press and was a New York Times new and notable pick. So awesome. Her literary criticism has been published in Poetry, and her teaching articles have been featured on the Poetry Foundation's Learning Lab. She is the co-editor with poet Alan Michael Parker of the Manifesto Project, what an awesome name, a favorite of poetry classrooms. Her poems have been published in numerous literary journals and national magazines such as Poetry, The New Yorker, The Nation, and Boston Review. Widely anthologized, her work can be found in the Pushcart Prize Anthology and Best American Poetry. Awesome. He is currently at work on a new book of poems centered around American masculinity and the role of the husband in contemporary marriage. She is also working on experimental essays about rape culture, the Me Too movement, and bisexuality. So awesome, Rebecca. Take it away.
Thank you so much. Before I get started, I just want to say to Chris and Katie, it's fantastic that you make this space for art, and I appreciate all the work that you've put into this. And I want to say thank you also to Susan, who I will be reading with, because I get to share this with someone really awesome. And I just met her, and she seems amazing. So you guys are in for a treat. I'm going to be starting to read with some poems from Gloss. As mentioned, this was a book that came out most recently for me, but it came out before the pandemic, which basically means like it came out in the before times. And so it feels very strange to me now to look at this because I'm like, oh, who wrote these poems? Somebody very different. So I'm going to read a couple from these, but I'm actually also going to be reading some new poems that are from this manuscript I'm working on now in the after times. Susan mentioned that she might be reading some spicy poems. And so I felt like I needed to bring some spicy poems. So I'm going to start that off. Group sex. There's you and your lover, and there's also his idea of who you are in this moment, and your idea of who he should be. Both of these like both of you, but better. Poreless skin, flushed lips, hairless where convenient. It's awkward, the theatrical way your lover throws back his head, and should you as well? What if you're face down? The other him, the one who never forgets to roll the garbage can to the curb the night before pickup, he would never let his right eye droop upon climax. He would never smack your bottom afterwards and say, good horse. He never has to give her the what for. Her hair is always clean, and she doesn't bring up the past like a sopping lobster trap every time the two of them are finally moving forward. She sees a wider vista. You could watch the two of them all day. Those toned limbs, the faint perfume rising from their skin like ozone after a storm, like roses bred to excess until the blooms break the canes. You could watch her raise her hand to touch his face softly, as if She cannot believe he shaved for her, as if there's only just the two of them in the world now. So a lot of the poems in this book are about marriage and about what it's like to be in a long relationship. Because I think we tend to have poems that romanticize new love, that romanticize or privilege what I like to think of as vexed love, when things are going terribly wrong. And there are some of those in here too. But I think it's interesting to take a look at how relationships evolve over time and what it is like to be with someone over decades. So here is a poem about the kinds of contracts we sign when we get married, if we do. You don't have to. The room where they are lawless. With the formal negotiations done, with the papers signed and consent obtained, finally, the obligatory biting of the shoulder, the standard toss of her across the bed, and the subsequent nuzzle, which may result in, but will not exceed, 2 items of clothing tearing. Though in this, as in all things, proper decorum must be maintained, for whomever has the floor retains it until yielding, and yielding is to be signaled by statements both verbal and non, as in speaking the word chrysanthemum, or tapping with the right hand or the left, if specified in the initial negotiations, against one furred flank. The act, which will henceforth in this document be referred to as love or mercy, will proceed, borrowing the following: 1. Suffocation. 2. 1 or more limbs falling asleep. 3. Indifference. 4. Death, real or feigned, and will continue as such until both parties consider themselves satisfied. The terms of said satisfaction are set out in the attached appendices and may be revisited and renegotiated should either one or both parties desire. I'm quite romantic. I don't know if you've noticed. So let's see. I will read, I think, maybe a silly poem. I feel like maybe we need a silly poem. Do I have a silly poem? Yes, I do. My big, unsubtle feelings. When you wake in the bathtub, surrounded by ice, your first thought will be that you are a crushed mint leaf in the world's largest julep. And I want to say I'm sorry. I took your appendix because I feared it would burst. I fished out your spleen to balance your humors. I stapled your stomach because I can't bear to imagine you middle-aged and paunchy. And I spooled your intestines round a crank to whittle your middle, the better to put my hands around. Ha ha, very funny, you might say. Now help me get out. But I worried your calves had ideas of leaving, so they are under the bed. And your arms now hold me and never complain or steal the covers. Every morning, I pet your hair on my pillow. I pet your tongue. I cover your eyes every night. Okay. Maybe one more spicy poem for Susan. When he is a woman. When he is a woman, I set his hair. The brown strands exit the comb's teeth gold, spill down his shoulders to a tender, slender waist I put my hands around when I want him to feel small. When he is a woman, I am a man. And as a man, I am aware of how to make his breath catch as I touch one freckled breast, as I unbuckle my buckle with a definitive air. When he is a woman, the love feels more real, his eyelashes more real, his mouth like an unkissed girl's more real. And I hold to the fiction. He's never known another's hand sliding up his thigh, not this way, or another mouth speaking these words that glide up his thoughts the way a man declares a land claimed, and then there's a flag. When he is a woman, I feel optimistic. When he is in a dress that suits his small frame, when the heels he walks in put his round hips to sway, all these things make the smoke hover above my scotch on the rocks. In this, as in all things, I am traditional. So I'm going to move to some of these husband poems. These are from a manuscript, which I think is called Generic Husband. I don't know. I'm very bad with titles right now. And the husband is a figure I find really interesting. I've been writing about marriage for most of my poetry career because I find it such a perplexing institution, and yet it's something I've taken part in more than once. Gotta try it out first. And also because the roles within a husband, within a marriage, are often kind of predicated on this heterosexual standard. And so you assume it's a man and a woman, and that a man is like this, and a woman's like this, and a wife is this, a husband is this. And of course, real marriages are much more complicated than that, and they don't fit into neat binaries, but I still find it interesting to think about these expectations. So let's see. I will start with crypto husbands. Crypto husbands. Husbands are a rising commodity. Husbands are unregulated. Husbands are decentralized. There's nothing husbands love more than telling you about the distributions of husband. It takes many husbands to validate a husband. If a husband is validated, the reward is more husbands. Creating more husbands is not ecologically sound. The ownership of husbands requires a study of secrets. The study of secrets is classified as a weapon in some countries. All the husbands want is to communicate under adversarial conditions. If Alice sends Bob a message, it's best for everyone that Eve does not know. The more husbands are praised, the more husbands are in demand. The value of husbands is inconstant. At times, they are equal to desire. Other times, they are outstripped by demand. Transactions with husbands are irreversible. If the key to a husband is lost, so is the husband. So I think this is a poem that possibly only makes me happy, but I did spend a lot of time reading about cryptocurrency to write it. So it makes me happy, and I'm sorry, but you have to.
It made me happy. I loved it, Rebecca. It was awesome.
Excellent. All right. More husbands. The husbands have a plan. The plan is to make more husbands. More husbands, more problems is a thing the husbands have never said. The more husbands there are, the more husbands there will be. That's math. Husbands beget husbands. The cities will be full of husbands. Husbands will spill from the upper stories of apartment buildings. Husbands will clog the canals of Amsterdam. Husbands will walk across the Grand Canyon on the bodies of other husbands. There will be so many husbands that husbands will seem interchangeable. One husband is much like another husband in the dark. Even now, the orchards are full of husbands, ripening in the afternoon sun. The farmer's market sells fresh, young husbands every spring. But artisanal husbands are not cost-effective. The husbands are building a factory to modernize the making of husbands. Now every husband working the line has their hands on just one part of another husband in production. Some of the beauty of creation is lost. but speed is everything. One day, a husband will ask his husband to get him a glass of water, and that husband will pause over the kitchen sink, looking out the window. He'll see a wild husband furtively slinking across the front yard, then duck out of sight into a culvert. There but for the grace of God, says the husband, but he shivers all the same. Okay, since I seem to be in kind of a run of silly poems, I will read another silly poem. The husbands are running. The husbands are running over hill, over dale. The husbands are running, they run. The husbands are running, they vault picket fences. The husbands are running, the husbands pump their arms. The husbands loosen their ties. The husbands are running, they run. The husbands' cufflinks are dropping like bullets. The husbands are running, they leap over boxwoods. The husbands are running, the husbands, they run. They kick off their shoes, they hop off their socks. They run, the belts are slithering and flying away. The husbands are running, the husbands race, the dogs howl. The husbands, they run. The backyards are full of the husbands running. The husbands call to the husbands to run. The husbands are running. They run. The husbands drop trousers. The husbands in boxers. The husbands in briefs. The husbands are running. The button downs unbuttoning. The husbands are running. The hair receding and the paunch is rising. The husbands are running. They run. The husbands on statins. The husbands gone vegan. The husbands with heart stents. The husbands are running. They run. The husbands run ragged. The husbands run weary. They run. Golden in the fading light. The sun retreating. The husbands are running. The husbands, they run. The husbands as one. The husbands, they run. Oh, I gotta take a drink. I've actually never read that out loud. It's not easy. All right, so the husband in these is not a consistent husband. Sometimes the husband operates as a kind of symbol. Sometimes the husband is kind of a figure of derision. Sometimes the husband is more emotional and sincere. So this one is maybe a little derisive. Husband paraphrase. The husband had long suspected himself of happiness. When he looked askance at his life, at his wife, at the lilies she'd planted alongside the garage, he felt a disappointing peace. Where were the beautiful beasts he'd sought, sword in hand, his horse a steady current beneath him? Where was the woman of singular perfume, whose touch sent him swooning into dreams of sensual violence? Nothing flogged him to his satisfaction. The flags on his castle were limp. One night, when all the children had dispersed from the long bourgeois lawns, after his wife hardened into sleep and fell beyond his reach, he stepped from the porch into the night, heroic. Nothing stirred in the backyard or in his chest. His dreams cooled gelatinous. Now, looking back, he saw that the small white house he'd left was a line drawing on a scrim. The grass, a series of waves in a cardboard sea. The lilies, ruddy glassine. And the song he'd sung, thin as a cricket scrape. Women emerged from the trees at the edge of the lawn, naked, wild, their bodies smeared with wine, mud, with the singular perfume of blood. They did not like his song. He was not a faun. They pulled at him until he tore, then pulled some more. In the house, his wife turned over, her dreams scented with heavy lilies, unaware of her husband's unbearable joy. Okay. The husband was once a teenaged boy, was long in limb, was delicate, fingers on the steel, was careless because beautiful, was hurtful because heartless is heartless, was a child in a man's body, was a girl in a passport photo, was a brash tiger lily from his mother's garden, was severe when his mates were antic, was reserved and monochrome, was in love, but not enough, was approached on the beach to model, was approached in a bar to model, was approached by an older man to model. Everything was modeling. Everything was easy, was careless. His beauty was a lodestar to himself, was singular, was strange, was heartless. All right. So the next poem is called The Husband's Legerdemain. And a legerdemain is a sleight of hand trick. But, you know, if you say it in French, it sounds better. So, yeah. I once gave a reading and I had a French phrase as the title, but I actually cannot speak French and it's very bad. And I said the title and then I expressed my concern that I could not actually say French. And this woman proceeded to say the title with this most beautiful pronunciation. And I hated her, but it was very nice of her as well. Okay. The husband's legerdemain. When I show you what I'm working with, you should assume the real props are unseen. When I pretend to light this short pencil, it's to disguise the cigarette smoking in my ear, just out of sight. We see what we expect, and I know a hot cherry from a dull lead, just as I know the difference between a want and a need. Clarity is what we want. Lying is what we need. A single finger's pad can be so sensitive. The ridge of a print can pop a card from its mates or make a crooked deck seem square. My grip is standard, except when you straddle me. Then I am a dealer with a fan flourish, stripping from the top. The white border of a card can conceal a faulty double lift. The way a white dress lifting off your body on a hotel bed while I am waiting at home for your call disguises taking more than you deserve. This kind of magic is intimate. An open hand has no secrets that can't be disguised through locking eyes. The trick requires you to see how much I want you to believe and then forget how much you want the same thing. Again and again, I remind you to watch what the other hand is doing. Let me show you what you want to see. I promise to never do the same trick twice. I promise to never explain. So one of the things I love about writing poetry is that you can justify watching an incredible amount of Penn and Teller in order to write a poem. So I spent a lot of time watching magic tricks and I highly recommend it. Magic is super cool. And I don't know why people make jokes about it not being cool because it's awesome. All right. Let's see. My timer says I've gone for 20 minutes, which means I have 5 more. I wanted to grab a poem that just got published. If I can find it. Yeah. It's slightly off the husband theme, but I think you'll see that it's of keeping. So this was just in the it's very glary. The Massachusetts Review, which is a wonderful journal. If you don't know it, I highly recommend. And this is called Middle Age Sonnet. And I feel like I always need to say there's a lot of concern about like aging in my poems, but I actually really kind of like aging. It's mostly. So I don't know. I'm probably going to have to think about that. Like, why am I doing that? But middle-aged sonnet. You're dead for so long and young just a little. So why not kiss if there's kissing on offer? There isn't much time to be beautiful and even less to know it. Even now, you are losing your poreless luster. Your mongrel heart flickers in a strong wind. I cannot say if anymore with sincerity. Certain things are inarguable. A man runs, a woman is a tree. If you applied your mouth to mine, I'd be a branch stripped bare. We needn't make another child. We needn't love the life we've made. Is this persuasive? Is this sexy? I've said this before in the standard fashion. The gods never wanted for wanting. We need be only half as cruel. So I'm going to finish with one more husband poem. If you are married and you write a lot of poems about husbands, I think it's fair to say that people start to wonder if the poems are about your husband. And I would say mostly not. I think that when we write from our life, there's always a sense that everything from your life informs what you write, but it's not necessarily A equals A. However, this poem is about my husband. And I will also say that this is a rare and pretty biographical poem. I caught COVID at the beginning of the pandemic before vaccines, and my husband caught it as well. And we did not have to be hospitalized. However, I became very sick. And I actually don't remember. There's like a good 3 months, I don't remember anything. And then like the next year, I just was kind of like lying on my couch a lot. And I only recently I'm getting out of physical therapy. So I'm super excited about this. I get to go back to the gym and I can talk without being breathless. And I think that if you are in a relationship with someone and they have to take care of you while you are very ill, it is extremely instructive to both of you as to how your love works and how that relationship works. And I'm very grateful for my husband during this. So here's the poem. Specific husband. The world was sick and he couldn't fix it. So we gathered deadfall into a pile in the backyard. He, you mean you? Yes. He had a plan and a reciprocating saw. He cut larger into smaller. He stabbed the ground with the sharpened ends of the thicker branches until they sunk, and those were his supports. The more pliant, thinner branches he wove between the poles. Did it help? It did not help. Surfaces still had to be wiped uselessly, masks worn. The news poured in and filled his home to the brim with wet leaves. Whole countries became sick. Cities became sick. His wife became sick. He could not fix it. Sometimes he reinforced the weaving with twine. Other times he used the pressure of one branch against another, the way his wife had provided a resistance that was also a support. This is still you. Yes. What were you making? It was a basket that couldn't hold. It was a deer's nest. Then what? He laced the softest branches into a canopy through which one could see the true canopy above. When his wife was weak, he would carry her to what he'd made and lay her inside. Did it help? It did not help. But it did not hurt either. She was an egg inside a nest. He monitored her oxygen. He monitored her speech for slurring. Did she hatch? No. The months dragged in snow. The snow turned the structure into a lace collar. Wind blew through. Then daffodils pricked out everywhere. Then crocuses. The structure was still standing. He trimmed the border with a weed whacker and let the grass inside grow long. He trained vines over it, and one day it erupted into a tangle of petals, tendrils, tender leaves. And then she got better. He dismantled it. She is still sick. Thank you.
Woo! Rebecca, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Such powerful, gorgeous poems, and such like humor and fabulous images, and just so much great stuff going on. And I'm very excited about the husband series / manuscript. That is just so cool. Like imagining the concept of the husband, the image of the husband in all of these different scenarios with all these different meaning, some of them like really like turned on their head. So cool. And then this beautiful last one, what a beautiful ode to your husband and your relationship, kind of memorializing that really hard time, but that the beautiful care in that. Just awesome poems, Rebecca.
I've been trying to remember, Rebecca, because I read your work online somewhere, and I can't even remember where it was, but I believe it was one of the husband poems, and I was like, wow, this is really interesting. And I looked up your website and I said,
we gotta get her.
No, because it was so, it was funny, but it was, like curious and mysterious and dark and
making a comment on lots of comments that are really fabulous to roll around your mind.
You were both so kind. I want both of you to write like the copy on my next book. I feel like you would do better than I do.
As a husband, I read these poems with, and then I would, there you go.
I approve. As a husband, I approve of this poem.
Get an official husband sticker.
Seal of approval.
That's hilarious. Well, Rebecca, we really, really enjoyed your poems, and everybody, you gotta pop your questions in the chat for Q&A, which is coming up around 9, a little after 9. And of course, Rebecca, later on, you gotta go see all of the love you received during and after your reading in the chat, especially on Facebook. Thank you so much. Yes. All right, see you soon in the Q&A. Chris, wasn't Rebecca fabulous?
Absolutely. Fabulous.
Yeah. Well, we need to welcome our second reader of the evening, our fellow FUMFA alum and dear friend, Susan M. Davis. Susan! Hey, Susan, how are you today?
I am great, but oh my goodness, Rebecca. I want her to be my next door neighbor, my writing partner.
Right?
Oh, she's just wonderful. But I do think she has now made it to Philip and Susan's saucy, steamy poetry.
Yes. yes. I love how Rebecca contributed beautifully to the spice factor of the evening, knowing that the spice is important to us here.
Right, and she hadn't planned on doing that, but she,
she heard about the Philip Susan spice off.
She said, I got some of those. Boom. She pulled them right out of the hat.
Well, Philip in the chat just said, ladies and gents, up next, Susan Davis. Philip, we love you.
I love that, Philip.
He's so great. That is so wonderful. So wonderful. All right. Well, Chris, would you do the honors of sharing Susan's bio? We love Susan's bio. It's just, it's full of her voice.
Yes. Well, Susan was a teacher for 28. She says 28.5 years. She said, but I don't believe she was a math teacher, but that's how she wrote 28.5 years. Great honors. And beloved. We know she was beloved, and she retired January 1, 2020. She has a published memoir called Where There Is Breath, There Is Life. That's from Adelaide Press. And she has a book of LGBT poems, just LGBTQ, sorry. I forgot the Q. Poems just published by Adelaide Press called, of course, Lipstick Lesbian. She's got essays published hither and yon. She's got 3 master's degrees, and will graduate in July with her 4th master's. 3 of those are MFAs. Fairfield. She lives with her soulmate, Karen, who suffered a brain aneurysm in 2008 and died twice, was revived. And today she is 95% back to the woman she was 13 and a half years ago. They live with their 3 pups in Southern California, where she lives in shorts.
Rubbing it in. We love you, Susan. Take it away.
I love you guys too. Thank you. And Rebecca, you'd be my best friend if we lived by each other. So I'm going to start backwards this time. I'm going to start with my acknowledgments in my Lipstick Lesbian book. And I do want to say one of my former girls did the cover. She is amazing. I have earned 3 master's Greek and currently have 1 semester left. Well, not even a couple weeks left to get my 4th. It was and continues to be a joint effort that includes many people. First to my wife, my soulmate and best friend, Karen Kozawa, who, yes, suffered a twice ruptured brain aneurysm that led me to all 3 master's degrees. She continues to inspire me and others each and every day. With her, this book is possible. I love you, Karen Kozawa. To my mom, who showed me the love of reading and at age 87 still reads today and gave me the courage to be myself. They've already talked about my doggies. To my Fairfield University MFA peers, Marianne McSweeney, Andrea Hodge, Megan Muldowney, Meg Moore, Meg McGovern, and Rob Piazza. Thank you for your words of wisdom. And Andrea Hodge, who just had her 2nd baby girl, you are my left arm to my right arm, and I love you, sweet friend. I want to thank my teachers and mentors who worked on this book with me and reminded me that Fairfield University is the best. Carol Ann Davis, Karen Osborne, Baron Wormser, and Adriana Paramo. These teachers led me to the path of finally writing a book of poetry with the theme of LGBTQ. It was something that I needed to do, and under their guidance, these outstanding teachers made this possible. I was able to arrive and write these poems. And I also love this magnet. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And I must say that is how this book came into being, because I was not comfortable with poetry at all. And now I am. So I took another class because I'm just this classless woman because I don't have any classes to take. Anyway, it's called Pretty Woman. The corner where pickups are necessary. It can become life or death. Boots, long, tall, skinny. Held together by a safety pin. A Levi jean micro mini skirt. Waiting on the corner for a gentleman to pick her up. A silver car with dollar signs painted all over the doors. They're staring at me. No, they're not staring at you. They're nice to credit cards, not people. Gear shift, only she could handle. No more boots, only safety pins. Rags to riches, all in a day's work. You could guess where that came from. So, I know many of you, if you've listened to my readings, have heard several of these, but they are now what I call publishable because they were published. So I'm going to read some of those tonight and some new ones as well. Summer of 1984. Closeted woman scratching, clawing, screaming, "Let me out!" Walls painted white like me, a virgin. She directed me not to tell anyone. A silence, solitude. The closet came crashing on me, pinned me against the walls. So I left her for the summer of 1984. Gay bars and nightly dancing in a smoke-filled bar. People who were just like me. Short hair, dressed to the nines. Women, more than I could count. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, we closed the bar. The only place to be me. She never came. Dancing, Diet Cokes, dreams, sweat, and songs. Women in all shapes and sizes. Barflies, we were called. Week after week, my best friend Charlie and me, dancing the night away, closing the bar till last call, the song blasting, I will survive. Same woman, lover. We met in 1978. We bowled together in the amateur tournament. Professional bowler was my vision. Little did I know you would become more than a coach to me. I was 20 and you were 33. Knocking pins down left and right. The alley was our connection. There were rules to follow, one bowler at a time. Watch to your left, watch to your right. Everyone had to take their turn. You were attracted to me just after we met. I often wondered why me. I was 20 and you were 33. We shared so much, slapping 5 in the clutch, fingers lingering, hearts pounding. Bowling shaped our destination. I was 20 and you were 33. I hired you to coach me. Balls released down the alleys. Sticky fingers, embroidered on the back of my jeans. It was just a name, but I wore them like it was a game. My turn. I was 20 and you were 33. Okay, my affair with a married woman. Yep, still the same woman. Was with her for 19 years. Taboo in so many ways, our secret from all. 2 women, 1 single, 1 married, 1 innocent, 1 mature. Hearts ablaze, the secret ignited, the fire. Cemented by embers of her touch. Stripped down wetness of the rocks. Like the mouth of a waterfall. She knew. I learned. The secrecy kept me coming back, melted by her flame. A haiku I wrote. Ski slope, slippery, icy, just like you and me. Lesbian, slick lips. My triad haiku. Coming out is hard, hard like a piece of candy. Swedish chocolate. How hard can that be? Sticky fingers like syrup. Was it hard or soft like me? the box an array of hard, soft, white chocolate. Please come out and play. Okay. The double life. Yep, same person. 19 years is a lot. You have a lot to write about. Your hand positioned on mine, the gear shift in my new black Camaro. Under yours, I could not move. Perhaps I didn't want to. I was 20 and you were still 33. Innocent as a child, but you were versed. A hand can hold a heart. Is that what you meant? I was 20 and you were 33. You were slick, if that's what you meant, but married was your status. You claimed innocence is precious. Were you drawn to that? I was 20 and you were 33. The toughing of our hands was only, that was touching of our hands, was only the beginning. You went for more. Was I just another score? I was 20, and yes, you were 33. A double life when you entered your door. Falling in love with another woman was not too troubling for you once we got started. I was 20, and you were 33. I lost my innocence to you. Once we began, we could not stop. You became the one I wanted, sex every minute we could find, only to watch you return to your life at home. I was 20, and you were 33. It hurt more than words can scream. I got you when it was convenient for you. But mesmerized by your gorgeous green eyes, your lips dressed in winter wine, touching mine with a slip of your tongue. I was 20. You were 33. Our sex was a secret. You kept us close in the closet, never revealing to others who you really were. A double life. This time you were 33 and I was 20. That one felt good to write. So I'm ending the relationship at 19 years from my first lover who brought me out. 3 teachers. I left her for you. Teaching brought us together. Infatuation. That was my motto. Your movements were so feminine. The red nails, the red lipstick, the red pumps. Blonde hair, sexy. Disneyland was our ticket. After work, 7 days a week, you were married. But so was she. Teachers, all 3. In the beginning, Texas was your next stop. A husband waiting for you to reconcile. But I had you wrapped in my arms, dancing in the gay bars, buying you drink after drink, friends stepping in. If you had enough alcohol, you might put out. Dressed to the nines, lesbians drooling as we walked in. Proud to have you by my side. Have a drink. Your champagne. Kiss me. Your lips connected to mine for others to see. But I think I did leave her for you. 16 years together. And now I have you. Your husband is waiting in Texas, not knowing about us. July was coming close. You would leave. Did you care that I left her for you? Vegas, Palm Springs, San Diego, we did them all. You and me. You were leaving. Time was ticking away. Did you know I called her? She wanted me back. You were still here. Could I actually turn my back? Your white car drove slowly away. Tears in your eyes. Why are you crying? You want your husband. I left her for you. And now, I thought I had these sticky so they wouldn't stick. I know Rebecca doesn't know this story, but all of you do. My wife had a ruptured brain aneurysm 14 years ago, this July 28th, 2008. And this is one of my poems to my bear. I'm Boo, she's Bear. My first glance at you took my breath away. A burgundy bed, bigger than most. Tubes in every orifice of your body. Your brown eyes taped shut. Tubes sticking straight out of your skull. Blood draining from the tubes into a bucket behind your burgundy bed. Slowly it goes, drip by drip. The excess blood of your ruptured brain aneurysm. How long would it take to empty out? The news came hard. Your chances of survival were less than 1%. How could I live without you? I'm glad I didn't have to find out. Fairfield, MFAs, plural. Why do I keep returning, they ask? It is my respite, I reply. The small, cozy dorm room gives me a place to hide. No kids to teach, no caretaking to be performed, rushing from class to seminars to the dining room, being a therapist in my room at night, no television to watch, listening to the noises outside my room, loving this quietude that demands my attention. Going home to my bear, her smile speaks volumes, and the pups yelp. Always knowing that teaching my 8th graders is near. Crowding my mind with residency academics, writing my memoir or novel or poems, knowing all along my next residency is around the corner. Why do I return? Because I can. Now I'll read a few out of my book, and it is available on Amazon. Wet. Do you like the rain? It is wet, like you and me. Do you feel the rain? Slide. Ski slope, slippery, icy, just like you and me. Lesbian, slick lips, but I think I just read that. Hole, green eyes that clutched mine, burning a hole through my soul. It's gone. What happened? This is one of my favorite ones. I put it in the lesbian lipstick book just because I wanted it published, and I hadn't got it published as a single poem. But many of you know I suffer from OCD. It's never kept me bolted to my house or anything, but it's something I've had for a long time. OCD, my little white gate. Elementary school can be difficult. Each morning I stressed about OCD. New to me at the age of 11, stopping by the little white gate. Past the bottle brush tree, red bristles as red as cherries falling. looking to my left, looking to my right, no one watching, bending over to touch the dirt. Soft, not hard, right then left, under my little white gate. Checking again and again, is the gate locked? 3 times I checked, touch the dirt, touch the dirt, touch the dirt, soft, hard. The only way out, to leave for school. What is this? Then it became the little red stairs on our front porch, open for all to see. 2, only 2, not 3. I had to touch the crack of the little red step once, twice. Enough! No more. 3 times. The little white gate, the crack in the little red stairs. My best friend it became. Mary saw me. Let me do that. No! I screamed. She looked, she watched, she saw me. Back to my little white gate in our backyard. My happy place. 11 years old. OCD each morning just to get to school. Exhausted. Leaf. A sound makes some noise. Did you hear the leaf falling? It shattered the fog. The kiss. Who invented kissing? Wasn't you or me, because it was here long before us. Who would think the slathering of saliva when our lips would amalgamate, entertain, and capture our internal flames? Lips touching, tongues flapping, exploring, and finding each other. Your kiss was my first. French kissing, they called it. Why French and not English or Italian? Kiss, kiss, kiss. I never wanted to miss your sweet lips, wine-colored, lipstick lesbians. We were. I love being a lesbian. So many lips I have kissed. Some little, some intense. But overall, like a snake, I have learned to slither on the lips. Red. As a lesbian, who wants a woman? Lips. Which ones? The lips on your face, of course. My lined, luscious lips, red with a glossy finish. Ruby Raisin was one of yours. Your painted fingernails followed my mouth. Your fingers caressing my lips, bringing me to a place I had never entered before. Are the fingers the floundering of love? This is how it all began. I didn't do all these. Sorry, I thought I had, my OCD had me put all these in here. Bowling blouses, the 19-year relationship. Your young yellow firebird, the center of our petting, to our bowling center where I first met you, to begin my first league with the Los Angeles Women's All-Stars. Excited to bowl with you and other women, the best women bowlers. Excited to slide onto your black leather seats and eagerly paw at one another. After all, it was dark and no one could see. Our forest green tops clung to our cheating breasts outlining our sweet swells. It was our uniform, after all, the one our sponsor paid for. Walking in, rolling our bowling bags behind us, taking our turns with our black and red bowling balls, each one 16 pounds in weight. I was first in the lineup. You were last. Another woman was in the middle. Rolling like a pro, I got a strike. Walking back to see you clapping, your hand out gently, slowly, I slapped you 5. Smoke permeated the air, glasses clinking from our Diet Cokes and others who drank beer. These women were some of the best in the United States. The 10 white pins at the end of the lanes staring at each of us as we aligned our expensive bowling shoes on the wood bowling floor. My shoes were silver, yours were white. Arrows out on the lanes we all tried to hit with our delivery. Hunger in our touch with one another. Clingy, tight blouses, again outlining our breast. Your beautiful breasts, new to me, but women's breasts, all familiar to you. I now know I became your 4th lover. Kissing your sweet wine, colored lips, my tongue enjoying the trip, tracing your shiny white teeth, stepping out of your yellow Firebird car at midnight, just a little more comfort in knowing the closeted lesbian I was becoming. So my publisher liked lipstick lesbian, hence the title. My red garnet nails touching your silky skin. What's next? Polished nails required for this lipstick lesbian. Fingers, the finders of love. Long, short, manicured is a must. Yearning for your touch. Intertwined fingers, one around the other. Is this how it all begins? A lesbian learning? Where do I begin? Do my manicured red nails touch you all over? Where is the beginning? Where is the ending? Green eyes.
Susan, we have time for about one more. I'm sorry, they're so great, but we would. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I can stop.
Sorry. No,
Sorry, I forgot to look at my clock.
one more.
One more. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I just lost my place, but let me find it.
Sorry, Susan, I love you.
I lost the place. Okay, I'll read this one and it sums up my Karen. I never walked away. Online dating, our words crisscrossing the internet, intersecting like birds and bees. P.F. Chang's our first date, fortune cookies, holding secrets, a U-Haul, the second date. Rheumatoid arthritis was your diagnosis, walking impaired, eating lessened, work through it, I used to say. UCLA, the clinical trials, pills, shots, repeat. Bit by bit, you knew the pain was dissipating. I never walked away. Eating, walking stairs became available to you again. And if you want to read the last of that poem, buy this book.
We love you, Susan.
Well, people are repeats, but there's some new ones in there. Thank you.
Oh, just absolutely fabulous. Such incredible imagery, such spicy personal details, but also such incredibly poignant and powerful ones of like also just growing up, coming out, coming into your own, these also these wrenching moments. You capture them all so powerfully, and always so wonderful to hear your poems about Karen and how you all pull through that time, and
bowling.
and bowling, lots of great bowling imagery too. Lots of like sort of sexy bowling imagery as well.
And I don't think there's very much bowling in a lot of poetry out there. I think maybe your next book, bowling.
Oh my God.
Something, I don't know. I love bowling, so I'm partial, but
Well, you know what? Also, I love that idea, Chris. And Susan, I have to tell you, all the poems were incredible. It was so awesome to hear you read some haikus. And Philip J. Curtis loves a great haiku. You got to go see all of our comments, especially his. And he just had to say, Susan is in beast mode right now. Just.
Thank you so much for again letting me read. Poetry was never my thing. I'm in love with it now. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Susan, right. I am so glad that you accepted that challenge to get into some poetry. Just absolutely excellent stuff. Everybody, a round of applause for Susan M. Davis and Rebecca Hazelton. Oh, both of you, thank you so much for your incredible readings. Everybody out there, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, get your questions in the chat, please. And we're going to get started with our famous first question. Chris?
Yes, we are. And we get right to it. We'll start with Rebecca. So it's a very simple question. How has writing and being a writer changed your life?
It's a huge question.
Oh, I mean, it's absolutely ruined it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Things could have gone so much better.
Say again?
Things could have gone so much better.
Oh, no. We'll explain.
Okay, fair.
We must hear more.
And that wasn't a sincere answer.
But so
it's, I always wanted to be a writer. I was one of those like really obnoxious 13-year-olds. I read the diaries of Anais Nin and I was like, I will write my diaries. Like, writing all my sexy 13-year-old secrets in them. For publication, they were very bad. I'm like making stuff up because my life's really boring. And I always wanted to do it. And I'm very fortunate in that I was able to pursue it. And I think that I want to acknowledge that privilege because, it takes resources. You need to be able to have time. You need some financial security in a lot of ways to pursue art, which is ridiculous because the people who should be making art often don't have access to these things.
Totally.
But when if I think about how my life could have gone if I had made better choices, I will say that I think being a writer has opened up my eyes to, this sounds so cheesy, but the beautiful things that are around. It has encouraged in me a kind of attention I don't think I would have had otherwise to the natural world, to the emotions that we have, these like tiny crystalline experiences. And it makes me, I think, more aware of time than I may have been otherwise. But that's very subjective. So yeah. I really like that question, despite my jokey answers. Because
your answer is fantastic and very relatable.
No, I'm interested in this time thing too. Like you're more aware of time because you're paying attention to
life, observing it, having a place to crystallize that in this kind of non-linear yet rhythmic form of poetry, I think.
Yeah, I think because I'm paying more attention than I might have otherwise, and because I'm trying to understand things and understand myself, it requires a kind of in the moment that maybe I wouldn't have otherwise. And I have to say, it's something that I lack in other aspects of my life. Like I try to do meditation apps and it's just a disaster.
Yeah.
It's so bad. I'm like, you can't make me breathe. But when I'm writing, I can access a flow state. And so it's very interesting to have that kind of thinking that otherwise I can't access because I'm scattered.
I completely agree, and I can so relate to that, Rebecca. I think you put it into just perfect words.
Thank you.
Totally. And what about you, Susan?
Oh, how has it changed me?
Well, how has it changed your life? Because you as we know, you were a teacher for all those years. I don't know how much writing you were doing during those years, but was there a point where you just started writing, and then did things change?
I did. I started my first book of fiction in 2003, and Clayton and Melissa are still in the binder. I mean, I've worked on it, but then my Karen had her brain aneurysm, and I was going to be in the MFA first class, that
Right.
many of years or but I couldn't leave her. I had just gotten her home, and it took me 6 years to finally go, and I obviously still haven't stopped. But for me, I switched from the fiction to the memoir, so I could tell the world about Karen's aneurysm and bring awareness to brain aneurysms. I always say this: 1 in every 50 of us has an aneurysm right now.
Oh my God.
And every 18 minutes, one ruptures. Advocate for the Brain Aneurysm Foundation. So that's how and I wrote on the weekends because I taught for 28.5 years.
5 years.
Give me a little extra money. That's why the 0.5. So, I couldn't leave Fairfield. So I thought, well, I have my fiction. So I did that. And then I retired. And then it was COVID. Well, what am I going to do? Go to Europe? I don't think so. And so I sat in my office here at home and I wrote 150 poems. And one of the guests at the MFA was one of the editors for some book, our publisher. And I asked her, what about lesbian, LGBT books? She goes, write them.
Write them. Do it.
That is write them, not ride them. Write them.
Yes.
Anyway, I wrote a whole book my first year during retirement. And so it's become my life. It's my safe spot. And I would do it again and again.
Susan, I love that. And I loved your poem. I love your acknowledgments were so beautiful. And I loved your poem that was an ode to the residency and what that meant to you. What a beautiful way to just capture that feeling and what it was to you. You get such a beautiful sense of so many times in your life and how you passed between them in those books and especially in those poems, and especially knowing you, it's really special.
Thank you, Katie.
Yeah.
This is my 15th residency coming up.
Oh my God, Susan, amazing!
I need to write about that one.
I think you have to. I have a question. So it's very exciting because I know that you're both multi-genre, but we're really focused in poetry tonight. I'm really interested to ask Rebecca and then Susan about your publishing processes. For poetry, how often do you send out individual poems? And also, what is your process like for shaping a manuscript? How is it? And when you send that out, how is that similar or different from individual poems? And I'll just be taking notes over here because, I'm doing the same thing. Rebecca.
Sure. Thank you for asking this. I myself, I really enjoy hearing about people's process. So
Yeah.
it's always fascinating to me to see how people go about it.
Yeah.
You were asking about, and I'll try to hit all that you asked. How often do I send out? How many do I send out, etc.?
Yeah. What is the process for that?
Yeah. So I would say I go through periods of time where I am really good about getting poems out. That has become harder as I got a job teaching. I had a kid. I can't just blow a weekend doing submissions all
Right,
weekend.
and reading all of the instructions for each one and not getting it wrong.
But I would say that what I try to do is once I have a large packet of poems, like say I've got 40 poems, I want to try to get them out into the world. I will make sets of packets of them.
Nice.
And then I will each packet maybe send to, this is when I do it well, like 10 to 15 journals.
Nice.
So each packet goes to 10 to 15 journals. And so when I do that, I'm sort of, I'm a little bit playing a numbers game.
Yes, exactly.
Which people do, and I have to say that like it's hard on editors because especially with poetry, so much poetry comes in, and yet at the same time, it's like, oh, what do we do?
Right.
Please take my poem. So yeah, I do simultaneous submissions. I try to have packets, and then if one packet strikes out, I move them to the next set of journals wherever else it has struck out. And so I try to be methodical about it. I kept a spreadsheet on Google for like 10 years, and then it just got unwieldy. Because it turns out I don't make elegant spreadsheets, and they just kind of went crazy. So I recently,
I hear you on all these. I just hear you.
I ponied up $25, and I subscribed to Duotrope, and that's been working out well for me. Nice. And I'm sorry, you had a second putting together manuscripts.
Yeah.
I would say with my first two books, one being Fair Copy, which was a book of acrostics of Emily Dickinson lines.
Cool.
Which was basically just a way for me to avoid studying for my PhD. Like I hit Emily Dickinson in my comps, and I was just like, I hate you. Do I love you? I hate you. So I had to have a big fussy fight with her, and that's how I wrote that book.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so those were all of a piece because they had a formal constraint that united them, and they had similar themes. So I didn't even order it because I picked I wrote the book, I think, when I was 28 or 29, and I picked every 28th poem in my collected Emily Dickinson. And so that's how I picked which lines. So the book took care of itself.
Nice.
The second book, I wrote the whole thing in I think about 3 months because I was really miserable. Yeah, I don't recommend this, but if you if you want to just drive yourself into the ground and drink too much and not sleep and treat yourself like garbage, you too can write a book in 3 months.
I do understand that feeling, unfortunately.
Don't do it. It's bad.
It's not good.
Those were of a piece because they were like, here's your shitty life. Excuse me. Here's your terrible life. And here's the book.
Your way.
Okay. This last book was quite hard. I wrote the poems over years. They were not all written at the same time. And I struggled with this book. I think I put it through like 2 or 3 different orders. It had an entirely different name. It had a different name. And I got some decent responses on it, but it didn't seem right. And then I did a radical change, and then I was happy with it.
It clicked. Yeah. It takes some time for the spirit to move and for the right thing to happen. But when it happens, nice.
So I don't know if that's helpful, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very relatable. I fascinating to hear.
I'm noticing on your wall, Rebecca, there's all these little like sticky notes. So I'm wondering, is that part of your process?
So not this, but yes. So this is actually a reordering of a novel because I want to make my life terrible.
Oh, I've done that exact same thing, and I
Yeah,
wonder.
so
Chris.
it's basically Act 1, 2A, 2B, and Act 3.
Fabulous.
And this was very helpful. But when I did this, or maybe when I did the husband, right now all my pictures are off the wall, so I could do this. Took all the pictures down, and I put the entire manuscript. I covered the entire wall.
Yeah.
I did it with painter's tape, and then I could easily move each page to reorder it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that worked really well for me. I used to do it on the floor, but then your cat comes and hawks up on it.
Yeah, I was gonna say the floor here is where that has happened for my manuscript.
Yeah. I want to hear about Susan's process because I've been talking too much.
Yes, Susan, tell us about individual poem or piece publications and then your manuscripts. How do they come together? How does the publication happen?
Well, with my memoir, I was lucky enough to write it mostly in the MFA.
Nice.
But that's not true. It took me 7 years to write, so I started before. But I had wonderful, wonderful mentors. And then I had one who I don't know if we should name, but whatever. If you read my book, there's a lot of kudos to this professor we had.
Feel free to name the person if you want.
Eugenia Kim.
Eugenia.
And if anybody's had Eugenia, she has that fine lead pencil. Anyway, so she helped me, and then I got stuck on what am I going to call each chapter. Of course, she helped me do all that. And anyway, then Andrea Claudius Hodge, who again, one of my best friends and from an MFA, and she had a publisher and she wrote him a letter and said, you've got to read Susan's manuscript, but you got to send it into him. So anyway, I sent it into 3 publishers, and I got an yes from Adelaide. I got maybe send it to me. And then I'd already signed my Adelaide contract, so I couldn't send it to the second one. Then the third one, as Eugenia said, is a highfalutin publisher in New York. And he thanked me, but said it just wasn't what he represents. So that's how my memoir came about. Again, I wrote it all at Coffee Bean. My Coffee Bean.
I love that.
In Irvine, California. The whole book was written there. All my homework. And I had this beautiful lavender purple office built in our home, not to use it.
Nope. I get it.
So I like noise, so I went there anyway. And then my poems, I would just send one out at a time. But again, I formed a Zoom group for new MFAers, but then a couple of our older MFAers, not in age, but graduated. So we have 6 of us that meet every Tuesday night, and they have just been awesome. Meg Moore, Megan Muldowney, just Marianne McSweeney, all of them. And they have helped because we critique each other's work. And then if they say, okay, that's good, or it needs this, then I'll go back, rewrite it, and then send it out.
Love it. What a wonderful group. What a wonderful community. Megan has also told me about this fabulous group, and I'm like, that sounds just absolutely amazing.
You know what? It's why we come to an MFA too, I think.
Yes.
To the people, and I live on the West Coast, and everybody else seems to be on the East Coast. So the time difference, but it works for us. And we just finished our 2nd year together.
That's awesome. Beautiful.
So I call us the Zoomers.
The Zoomers.
You have to have a name.
Yeah. So
that is so good. That is too good. Well, I still, I could go on asking about a bazillion questions. Chris, I think we have to get to our famous last double question, so we can just give Rebecca and Susan some time with these 2 questions.
So Rebecca, yes. So first one is just words of wisdom for writers. People looking in tonight who are thinking, I just need a pearl of wisdom, a piece of advice. And part 2 of this is a book recommendation.
Mm. Oh, okay. So, words of advice. I mean, the standard thing to say is read. Honestly. And I still kind of want to say it.
Say it.
Read books. I think if we're starting out as writers, because we feel tenuous, because we're a little scared at the audacity we have to come to a page, that we can get worried that, if I read other people, I'll just sound like them, and I want to be my original voice. But you really don't know your voice until you start having dialogues with other writers.
That's right.
And I think that I have learned so much through reading. And it's not even the stuff I always like. Sometimes I read something and I'm like, I hate this. Why do I hate it? What's it doing?
I'm fired up.
Me. And maybe I've learned just then, well, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Or maybe I spend some time with it and I'm like, I'm having this reaction, but it's doing something to me. So how's that working? So I would say read. I would say I have gotten a lot of inspiration reading outside poetry. I mean, obviously I read poetry. I love it. But I'm very grateful for my education as an English major, for the lit classes I took in my MFA and my PhD. And I've been very heavily influenced by film.
Nice.
I grew up in the rural South. There was not a lot to do, but there was a Blockbuster.
Yes.
And I look back at some of the movies I was watching and I'm like, what? Why was I getting that out at 16? But I watched this movie, The Piano, like 4 times. I was obsessed. And honestly, like that movie showed up in my poems like decades later. And so I would say just take in as much media, as much art as you can. And don't be afraid to look at things that are a little outside your comfort zone. I have a bad habit of collecting the things that I like. And I'm like, I like this book and I like this book. And I just kind of want to stick with those.
There's nothing wrong with that, but
you have to get beyond that, because then you're feeding yourself the same thing over and over, and you start replicating the same thing over and over. And I want to know what other ways there are to think and to be. And I don't want to just reinforce what I'm comfortable with.
I love that.
This is good advice that I don't always follow.
Fabulous pearls of wisdom.
And you said to recommend a book.
Yeah.
So I have sort of my stack of current reads. I will say this is not poetry, but if you are writing prose, if you're working on a novel, this came out pretty recently. It's by Matt Bell, and it's called Refuse to be Done. And I would say that this is an incredibly useful book if you are trying to get through the huge task that is writing a novel. And how do you revise something that seems so huge?
Right.
All this. And it's a very like supportive, fantastic book. It's kind of like, you can do this, but not condescending. I like it so much. And the other book I would recommend, come here. Oh, come here. Okay. If you are looking for a book of poetry, I will read out the title because it's going to be flashed out. So this is by Nancy Reddy, and it's called Pocket Universe. She is a wonderful poet, and she's been writing a lot of poems about motherhood and the body, which I have found really fascinating. I am a mother, but I have always been really uncomfortable writing about it. And I think some of that has been, internalized misogyny in some way. Like, if I am viewed as a mother, then I will not be taken seriously. Because our culture does not like mothers in a lot of ways. And yeah, so I found this a fascinating book. This would be something that I would say does get me a little outside my comfort zone. I had to kind of think about, well, what's my problem?
Right. Like, why is it hard for me to write about this? That's very cool, Rebecca.
But she's excellent. Her poems are sharp, and she's a little funny now and then, which never hurts. Yeah, I would recommend those.
Excellent, Rebecca. Thank you so much. Fabulous pearl and fabulous recommendations. Susan hit us with a pearl and a recommendation.
A pearl of wisdom about, what was it? Sorry.
For writers.
Fashion, like
stuff. Just one step at a time. I went into the MFA knowing I would be published at the end in 2016. No. Doesn't happen that way. Again, took 7 years to write that book. Just do it. If you don't write down that first word, you're never going to get anywhere. So I would just say, believe in yourself when no one maybe believes in you, and just do it. Put it out there.
Yes.
And, that's how I plugged through 3 MFAs and a lot of money. And, that I'll be paying back till I'm dead. But
same here, Susan.
It's all good, because in our living trust, we left money to Fairfield MFA. So, it all equals out. They've given me my life back and world from the depths of a brain aneurysm.
Yes.
And what book? I don't know. If I could just pull 2 out, like Rebecca did. There are so many.
I cheated. I had a pile.
I have the stack was right
there. So I was quickly looking. I think one of my favorite is the memoir and the memorist, for memoir writing, for poetry. You think I'm plugging her and her book, and I'm not, but I will. One of my best friends, Andrea, again, Hodge, Claudius Hodge. I read her poetry book, After Coffee, I think is the name. It turned me on to so much poetry.
Nice.
I don't know how many times. And when you have a good buddy, that she just sent me something the other day, Susan, I'm stuck. And I'm like, you're asking me? That's how we are, though, right?
That's so sweet.
I said, I need a half a day to figure out why your little rice word won't work. In half a day, I text her back and said, what about that? She goes, I love it. But, just having that you can call, text in a heartbeat. I need a word. Help me.
Yes. Oh, Susan, you speak so much to the power and value of just writing community and just what that can do for you, how that can change your life, just pursuing writing and staying connected. And especially to our program, that just means the world. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
I want to add one last thing. First of all, Rebecca, thank you. You were wonderful to pair up with. I love your work. And Katie and Chris, I've said it a million times, so has everyone else. Without you, this 98th would not have taken place. I don't think I've missed very many.
Susan, you are a top attender. You are at the tippy top. I mean,
but I got goosebumps. It keeps us together and it keeps us moving forward. So the two of you, much love for everything you've done for our MFA.
Thank you. It's an honor. It's a pleasure, and we are just so excited to keep this going, to stay connected to all of you, to start, to see some people at Alumni Day, and to do our first in-person event in the middle of July. And we hope to keep it going as indefinitely, as long as we can do it. As much as we can.
Please plug the shirt.
Oh yes, yes.
Money, because I want to donate to that.
We do have some beautiful FUMFA Poets and Writers Life logo shirts in black, royal blue, and a royal purple. We do have a link, but I don't have it like at the ready. If you're interested in a shirt, send us an email and we will tell you exactly how to go about making that happen. Just to send us your information and we'll send it to you.
Right, go on the Facebook page or something. Just
yes, it's on there too. But send us an email. Send us an email. Our email is there, fumfalive@gmail.com. Thank you so much, Rebecca Hazelton, Susan M. Davis.
Such a pleasure. Thank you for putting this together.
Yes, it was an honor.
Our pleasure. We hope to have both of you back real soon. Thank you so much to our fabulous audience. Happy Father's Day. Happy Pride. Happy Juneteenth, everyone. And I hope you have a great night, and we will see you all next week. Thanks again, Rebecca and Susan.
Thank you so much.
Next week with Carolina Poets. Be there.
That's right.